Bueno, mi nombre es María Corina Espurua, yo soy la directora de Editorial Marketing Partnerships para Believe Americas. We're actually going to do this in English or
Yes.
Spanglish. And you can...
My name is Rodrigo Gonzalez. I am the sales director for Believe in the U.S. Latin market as well as Latin America. So very happy to be here with my good friend and longtime working partner, Maria Corina Espurua.
All right, so let's get started. We did have a little bit of a presentation today just to show some slides and just talk about, this is going to be more of a conversational panel, talking about the importance of being independent artists. So if you can go to the next slide.
Yes, so we're very happy to be here, talk a little bit about Believe. They were asking us right before the presentation, how important is this presentation for an independent artist? I think it's crucial because independence is everything. So before we get into that topic itself, a little bit context of Believe. Believe is one of the top global distributors worldwide. We are one of the last remaining truly independent distribution companies. Many of the well-known distribution companies that you know are either owned by majors or don't have the global structure that Believe has. So we're very proud to be a company that really promotes independence, not just for independent artists, but at its core is an independent entity. So we serve artists and labels worldwide in more than 50 countries, and we thrive on tech-driven solutions, data, and really empowering artists through the most important thing, more than advances, more than getting on playlists, it's information. And making sure that artists are informed. That's the biggest asset that we bring to the table. We support creators while letting them keep control of their rights. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So a little bit to give context of Believe and TuneCore. As you know, we mentioned in a previous talk that Believe is the parent company of TuneCore. So a lot of people ask us, what's the difference between TuneCore and Believe? And I think this is a slide that we usually bring to the table when we're evaluating conversations with potential clients. And it perfectly explains, as you can see to the left of the presentation, there's a bottom end that talks about distribution in TuneCore, and it has a beautiful little robot hand. And that specifies, that tends to talk about the technology involved. So both Believe and TuneCore have the highest level technology in the distribution game, which we're very proud of. TuneCore is our partner and a company that we're very honored to work with every day. We have the director of TuneCore Latin America here, Bruno Duque. Say hello, bro. And again, Bruno has been an amazing foundation for artists, not just ones that are, and labels that not necessarily are in a development stage, but just labels that are interested in automized distribution service. They just want to pay a flat fee and make sure their music is distributed. And sometimes we encounter labels within the TuneCore ecosystem that qualify for a higher level of service, that really need that extra hand and that human element to take them to the next level. So you think of Believe as a consultancy service, where when we sign artists, be it from other distributors or independent artists that decide to come to Believe, what we're offering is that same technology offered at TuneCore, but also a team of experts. And we're not talking one person, we're talking literally a 5-person team that focuses on different areas that need to be developed and enhanced in the development of these labels and artists. That goes all the way from video to relationships with the stores and developing those relationships, the marketing relationships with the stores, as well as basic support. So sometimes it's frustrating when you're working with a DIY distributor and you have to send an email out into the void and hope to get answered. As an independent artist, that is frustrating. I'm sure I see someone nodding here, so that's happened. What we offer is a switch from that to actually having people you talk to, a team that supports you in developing your strategy and making sure everything is flowing well and definitely helping you grow as an artist or a label. So that's what we bring to the table is label services. So I think we can, just a quick summary of Believe. I won't go into a presentation, but why we consider ourselves the top independent music distribution company in the world. We bring digital expertise to the table, data, and data. I know that doesn't sound sexy, and there's a lot of artists here, but making decisions based on the data, as well as the intuitive love of music, is crucial. When you do data-driven decisions, you make better decisions. Specialized service, like I was saying, there's a specialized agent that takes care of different areas, so video, marketing, support, and general strategy. You have people for those specific topics. Transparency at all levels. I'll put on my artist hat for a second here. One of the things I love of working for this company is that I've never had to compromise my integrity when speaking to artists, because I know what it's like to be on the other side of the table, and you want truth. You want an honest partner that's really going to speak truth to you in your development. And that's one of the core values of Believe. Last but not least, we're a preferred partner worldwide. All of the stores are a very good friend of us. We pride ourselves in being nerds, because the nerds get the teacher's apple. And we really want to maintain a beautiful relationship with the stores so that we can get access to those goodies early on and make sure that they help us promote the artists we work with. And global recognition. So big focus on innovation, technology, and tools to help artists and labels grow. So that's my quick summary of Believe.
So here's where we're going to go deeper into the importance of independence music today. And I think it's fair to say that artists have obviously more control when they're independent. You have control of your creatives on when to release your music, how to release your music. You have kind of like this freedom and power that sometimes with majors, it's not really the case. Now also in today's music industry, there are no longer these like gatekeepers. Back in the day, it was like you had to be signed to a major label so you could be recognized or seen or, you know, be out there. Nowadays, you can just upload your music, pitch your music using these different platforms from the DSPs, and it works completely fine. And something that I really wanted to mention here is that the indie market, and I wrote this down because I thought it was a good data point just to have, the indie market is growing faster than the majors. So actually, last year there was a 13% annual growth versus 9%, which was the majors' growth. So I think that's really key, and that tells you a lot on how the independent industry is growing so much. Also, I saw this quote that I thought it was good. Just for all of you artists here, remember that independence means you're the CEO of your music. So you're not only just the face, it's your brand, it's your career, so you really have to take care of that. With that said, and I guess we can jump into the next slide, because it talks about how would you define being an independent artist today. So as I was saying, ownership, creative control, just making sure that you have control of what you do, what you have, your masters, your music, your brand. You have the freedom to choose who you want to work with. You don't have to say or do what other people tell you that you have to do. And at the end of the day, you're not alone, because a lot of people think that being independent, you're just on your own, and you're really not, because you're working with a team, and you get to choose who you work with. So I think that's really, really key. And rather than a business model, I think it's more of a mindset. So I think, in your point of view, I guess, Rodrigo is also an artist, so he's an independent artist. So I guess you can also give us some sort of pointers as to why you think it's so important being independent these days.
Absolutely. And I think it's a perfect segue for the next slide, actually, which is independence is tied to ownership of your masters. So why is it important to own your masters and copyright? And I guess the best metaphor for this is that you have to think of your masters as real estate. So maybe when you're starting out, that doesn't seem like an attractive real estate investment. But as your career develops, that real estate gains value. It's like the gentrification, right? When a market goes up or a place in the market goes up, the value of your catalog grows. So starting off, it's very attractive to sign your soul to the devil just to get the support from the devil. I'm not saying majors are devils, just getting that out there. It's just a metaphor. But there is a perpetual aspect to signing away your masters that it's the oldest story in the game where artists start off, they need some support, they sign their soul to the devil. Again, they sign off their masters to a major label with the hopes of getting support from the label because they want to make it. And then let's say they make it and they have an explosive career, they make it, and then they're kicking themselves because they don't have ownership of their music. And it's not just the fact that you're losing the opportunity to monetize your music directly, it's also that you have no control of how your music is going to be used. So it's not just tied to money, owning your masters. And that's one of the things that a lot of times when we're having the masters conversation, people think it's all about, oh, you can make so much money down the line if you grow your catalog independently and then you go out and sell it. Of course, that's a negotiational factor of what we're talking about. But also, if you don't own your masters, down the line, your music can be used to promote things that don't align with your values. So let's say you have no authority on your music, but then it's being used for a propaganda over something that you personally don't connect with as an artist. So it's literally losing control of who you are in terms of what you represent through your music. That's why it's so important to be independent and keep control of your masters. If you're signing off a deal, make sure there's an end date so that that music can always come back to you and you can always ultimately own your masters.
And I think you can say that masters are kind of like your retirement plan. If you don't have one, that's your retirement plan. Because
exactly.
we've seen, artists and labels sell their masters, like their catalog, for 8-9 figures. So think about that. Next slide. So what would you say to an artist who still believes that they need a major to go global? I would say think again. We have two specific examples in the case of Believe with two different artists. One of them is Grupo Frontera. I'm sure that you guys have already seen them. They just had their Tiny Desk released yesterday. So that was a perfect example. They signed to us when they were literally just a band that were performing at weddings, coverage songs. So it wasn't until 2021 that they had released a cover track for one of the songs from Morat, No Se Va, and it blew up on TikTok. It was completely organic, just the way that it happened, and we were able to capitalize on that growth and maximize them as much as we could. And now you can see that they're superstars, they're collaborating with main artists, they're just everywhere. They've been on Jimmy Fallon, they've been everywhere. So I think that tells you a lot. It's obviously a success story, but it's not only one, we've seen many. But in the case of Believe, that's definitely one that we're really proud to be working with. And also another one is actually a Spanish artist. I'm sure that you guys have already heard about him, Íñigo Quintero. It's the same. He had a global hit, a #1 global hit with the track Si No Estás. And it was the same thing. He was just a shy kid from Spain, just him and his piano, just singing songs. And just out of nowhere, there was like a Christian community that had so much attention to this song and to the meaning of the lyrics that, again, it just blew up on TikTok. It started blowing up on all the different platforms, and it became #1 global. So there are obviously these anomalies. It doesn't happen to everyone, but there's a chance that you can actually make it being independent, and then obviously owning your masters, which is what he was talking about, the most important thing of it all.
So how has technology helped independent artists grow without a major? I think the answer to this question is sort of preaching to the choir. If there are independent artists here, you know that 20 years ago, having a platform that could showcase your music in China was very difficult if you didn't have ties to a major. Nowadays, that has definitely changed. We have platforms all over the world. If you, let's say, I decide to start a music career today and have nothing to do with music, and I'm starting my career today. I go reach out to TuneCore, use TuneCore, put out my music, and literally next week, there's people in China that can stream my music if they want to. So this has definitely completely changed the game. So it's no longer dependent on majors. You have social media to promote yourself. You have to think of yourself as a startup. And in the olden days, without the support from majors, those tools for your startup did not exist. Those tools now do exist. So that is the biggest factor that has impacted how we promote music, is that we have technology. We have technology to push our music, to promote our music, to connect with our fans, and literally, we don't have to have a middleman to decide how we manage our conversations with our audience. And that, for me, as an independent artist, is the most beautiful thing of all. Again, we're talking business today, so money, how we're monetizing, how we're making a living through our music is so important, right? And that is a big part of the conversation. But also, one of the most beautiful things about being an independent artist is that you have absolute control of your narrative. You are the person who uses this technology to connect directly with your fans. And there's so many case studies of artists over the course of the last few years that have developed their career to the point where what was in the olden days a major game, a major label game, has now shifted to basically 50% of the artist market, 46% if I'm not mistaken, is independent artists. Traction in the music industry comes from 46% independent artists that are not tied to majors. So it's a trend that we hope will continue to grow. And nothing against the majors. I don't think the majors are the devil. I just want to say that. But it is important to understand why there's so much value in keeping ownership of your music and keeping your independence as an artist. Even if you sign with a major, make sure there's a deadline to when that music returns to you.
Great. So now we are going to do this section a little bit different.
Let's make it fun.
Because we want to be able to interact with you guys a little bit. So this section is called Setting the Record Straight, and we're going to do a couple of true and false questions. So we'll just do a show of hands.
Feel free to shout out the answer, what you think.
So first question, true or false, independence in music is a new trend? All right. So it's false. It's actually a growing movement, but not a trend. The tools just finally caught up to make it just sustainable. Next.
You can monetize your music on streaming, sync, and social media without needing a major. True or false? No Dwight in this one. So yes, with the right tools and partners, artists can create multiple revenue streams independently. We're not just talking streaming platforms, we're talking social media and such.
All right, true or false? Signing to a major gives you full creative control. False. Most major contracts involve compromises in creative direction, release dates, and image.
True or false? Major labels still dominate the music market in terms of ownership. False. Like I was saying, 46.7% of the recorded music market is independent. So you could say if it's a 50-50, the majors are still winning. But we're almost there, guys. Literally, independence is about to...
That was a trick question.
That was a trick question, right?
All right. True or false, you need a major label to get on global editorial playlists. False. Independent artists are featured regularly. Playlisting is based on data, engagement, and strategy, not just label backing. And this is super, super important, guys. Specifically on this, just want to highlight the last section. Strategy. It's really important. If you're an independent artist, make sure that you have your strategy, your marketing plan, everything together, just very well planned. And with that.
Yeah, and also play the game. It's so, we get so many cases where artists ask why they're not getting love from a platform. And just for the exercise, we go into their platform and we notice that they don't engage with the tools that the platform offers. So let's say an artist has a great song, but he hasn't even updated their artist banner, or that's basic, but there's so many tools being rolled out. So artists that don't even use artist picks or don't use Spotify clips or the tools that are being rolled out, by not being used, it makes our job much more difficult when we're going to pitch the music, because the platform is looking, it doesn't matter if you're an up-and-coming artist or a major artist, they want the profile and the tools in their platform to be used. So they're paying attention to that. Let's say you have a wonderful song, sometimes the opportunity can get blocked because you're not making the most of what the platform wants you to make use of. So very important in terms of strategy to plan out your release, make sure you do it with time, don't post from one week to the next expecting miracles, prepare it, upload it a month in advance, make sure everything in every single platform is up to date, and then release it. And I assure you the results will be so much better. So true or false, major labels guarantee success. This one's easy. Dwight, there we go, Dwight. So many signed artists never break through. Meanwhile, independent artists are dominating charts on their own terms. There are so many cases of artists that get left behind. The moment of the eureka moment in their careers is when they finally get that major label deal. They have the champagne, they take the picture, they feel like, this is it, I made it, it's all gonna change, this is where it begins. And then that's exactly where it ends. Because if it doesn't work out, you just become a number in the system. And if you don't have ownership of your music, then you're stuck there. So be very wary that many times signing is a death sentence, not necessarily the way out.
All right, true or false? You can only reach a global audience through a major. Okay, you guys are listening. Platforms like TikTok, YouTube, and Spotify enable global visibility without a label, just kind of like the examples that I was saying, Grupo Frontera and Inigo Quintero, just to name two. But again, they started on TikTok.
True or false? Owning your masters means you can control how your music is used and monetized in long term. True, exactly. This is one of the biggest advantages of being independent. Like I was saying, it means that you control your music and how your music is used. Again, you don't want your music used for something that you don't believe in, pun intended.
Independent artists earn more per stream than those signed to a major. True, because there are fewer intermediaries taking a cut. So again, with majors, sometimes it depends on the revenue share that you guys sign to, if you're signed to a major, because sometimes they take a big cut. With independent companies, the revenue share is much lower. So.
True or false? Independence means doing everything alone. This one's a tricky. What do you think? False? Okay. False. Dwight, thank you. It means choosing your partners. It means you build with a team that you choose. Contrary to signing with a major or giving up your independence means you're at the mercy of whoever is assigned to you. When you control your rights, when you have independence, you decide who you work with. But you can build a team. And mind you, you need a team. It doesn't matter if you're independent or you're signed to a major, you always need a team, and you can build it yourself. You can customize it.
That's repeated.
So again, okay. Independence is a...
There we go.
This one's yours or mine? You can monetize your music on streaming, sync, and social media without needing a major. True or false? Of course. It's true. It's repeated. Are you going back? Oh, that's fine. We can go to the next one.
Okay.
There we go.
Major labels still dominate the music market in terms of ownership. Okay.
Sorry. There were some slides that slid in there. No worries. So, let's open it up for questions. Does anybody have any questions? Go ahead, my friend. Do you want me to give them the microphone? Oh.
I wanted
10
to
minutes.
ask, at what point Believe takes an independent artist? Like, what are the points of consideration per se when choosing to work with an artist and be like, oh, I think you're ready to work with us, you know?
Do you want me to take it? So we look at everything. A lot of people ask us like, "Oh, you're only going to work with me if I have 500,000 monthly listeners or whatever." That's a classic expectation when we engage with conversations. Of course, we are very selective with the artists that we work with, and as I was showing you at the beginning of the presentation, we do feel that we've created an ecosystem that fits artists at each level. And that before we acquired TuneCore in 2015, that was actually a problem because a lot of artists wanted to engage with Believe, but weren't necessarily at the level where what we were bringing to the table was really going to impact them. So to answer your question, we look at everything. We look at the trajectory they're on, we look at their managerial structure, and what I mean by that is this artist have the structure to scale? Or is it just an artist doing everything on their own, no team, no context of what he needs to do to move forward? So a lot of the times it really comes down to the structure that we're seeing in an artist and the potential for scalability. That's the number one factor we pay attention to. If we see a trajectory for scalability in an artist that's very focused and has an aggressive release plan, and when we sit down with a marketing team, they have their dates planned out, and this is my album, and then I'm planning a second album next year, and this is my plan. That's attractive to us. That's the kind of artist we want to bring to the table because regardless of whether he becomes this huge superstar or not, it's the kind of bet that we want to make. So that's, to answer your questions, that's what we focus on.
And I think if I can add something more on the marketing side, we do audits for artists whenever we're trying to sign artists or labels at Believe. And we also look at how friendly the artist is also online, like if they're posting constantly, if they're tech friendly, you know, like posting on TikTok, making sure that they're tagging the right partners on their Instagram. Like we also look at that, and also to make sure that the artist is not paying, let's say, these fraudulent stream companies to increase the number of streams, because that is a huge red flag, and that's something that even Spotify is looking at and penalizing. So we also take a look at that data before we sign to an artist.
Be healthy. Do it right, no shortcuts. Streaming? Oh, there we go. Hey, friend.
Okay, so streaming has a question. So someone said, can I migrate my songs to TuneCore if I am already releasing through, let's say, DistroKid? I hate the feeling like it's just a number with other distribution platforms. Does TuneCore offer a more personalized experience when it comes to a playlist pitching and reaching a bigger audience?
Do you want to take it?
Sorry, could you repeat the last part of the question?
Does TuneCore offer a more personalized experience when it comes to playlist pitching and reaching a bigger audience?
So I'm no expert at TuneCore. That is obviously for Bruno's team. However, what I can tell you is that the artist, as always, has the power to pitch their music through these, let's say, back-end platforms from Spotify, from Amazon Music, from Apple Music. So as an artist, your own, you can actually go into Spotify for Artists, your profile, and pitch your music. That is actually the best way for editors and programmers and curators around the world to see what your music's about, what genre it is, etc. Because that's a kind of, imagine if it's like a big database of just all the tracks that are coming that week. So they use that information, and they also say that it's best if an artist actually does the pitch at least 2 weeks in advance, because that way they have so much more time to look and listen to the track. If you think about it, I think there's the number, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it's like 80,000 tracks.
80,000 songs daily.
It's an insane amount of songs that are being uploaded to all these different platforms. So the importance of pitching, at least even if it's through the tool, you're getting your song out there to the right people. So that would be my...
And just to add to that, TuneCore is an amazing platform. I myself have worked with TuneCore as an artist and a catalog owner. And to Maria Corina's point, the platforms are actually looking to have that interaction directly with, I'll tell you a little story. When we started working with artists, one of the things, and obviously as Spotify for Artists pitch comes up, it used to be that we would absolutely help them write it, the artist pitch for them. And it was actually, as we got more data and given our relationship with the stores and Spotify, for this case example, we learned that they were actually not too thrilled about that because we were cutting the relationship between them and the artist directly. So to answer the person in the streaming's question, TuneCore is an amazing platform. If you're not qualified or you're not at the level where Believe is the right fit for you, that doesn't mean that TuneCore won't be an amazing platform for you to execute your release plan. And I please invite you to go on TuneCore and see it's much more than distribution. There's so many tools that can accelerate your growth. And there's actually a service within TuneCore that is even more premium than the basic service that you can opt into as well. So there's so much more than just distribution in TuneCore. Just want to make sure that that's clear. I know it wasn't you, but I was addressing my answer to you, my friend. You were like, yes, yes, thank you. Sorry, you had a question.
Yes. When Believe is starting to work with an artist, does the initial approach come from the artist or from Believe? Like, does Believe have an A&R team that's looking constantly for artists, or are artists supposed to like understand when they're ready to come to Believe?
That's a great question, and it's not, I wouldn't say it's a black and white answer. I'll be honest with you, sometimes when you're starting out and you are in a decent trajectory and you're the one who reaches out to any distributor, you sort of lose the leverage because you're interested in getting the service. So if you're negotiating a deal, probably you're on the side of someone who is really in the need of the team, and hence the person you're negotiating with is going to be like, okay, yeah, you seem like you're in a great trajectory, but you're still growing and this service has a cost, so I'm going to really negotiate for something that I'm betting on, but I'm going to push for a high margin and something that really justifies me bringing this service to the table. What I really suggest to artists, and going back to like the playlist thing, there's so many artists focused on playlists and so many artists focused on once I have the distributor, that's when it's going to happen for me. I think the right approach is to really grow to a level organically with your audience and connecting with your fans where the distributors or the majors, whatever it may be, are knocking on your door. Same case for playlists. You have to get to the level where you pitching and getting or not getting on a playlist does not impact the organic traction that you're having with your audience, but rather adds value to that. If you're, and I said it in the panel before, if you're an artist that is hoping to make his career out of getting on playlists, then you're missing the point. You're really not an artist that, I would say, I'll be as drastic as to say that you're probably an artist that's not going to make it. We have examples of artists that have amazing love from the platforms that get on playlists that you couldn't believe they're on these playlists, and their career still goes nowhere. So getting back to your specific question, I think it's best to just work on your art, work on your project, make sure you have a scalable, strategic plan, and the labels and the distributors will come to you. And then you're in a much more comfortable negotiation space where you can say like, oh, okay, you're coming to me, so here's the deal, right? These are my terms. Thank you for that question. Do we have any more questions? I think we have time for one more. Are we done? We have one more from the streaming platform.
So Victoria from streaming says, what is your advice for someone wanting to transition into the music industry, specifically targeting A&R, creative services, and/or sync? Where should they start?
I just want to make sure that we're getting the correct. So, as music industry, as a like them working
Executive.
for the music industry, or as an artist.
As an executive, I think.
Well, it's just specifically targeting A&R, creative services. So,
Okay, so I'm gonna answer as if that this person wants to enter the music industry as a professional. Okay, so listen, I think I don't know her age, her situation, or anything like that, but I think what, in my experience at least, I started in media, so it was something completely off, not necessarily music, but then I transitioned to music. I think nowadays, depending on your age, you can also do internships. I think internships are a great way to get into the music industry. At the same time, I say media because sync has a lot to do with media, so anything that has TV, commercials, shows, etc. So that can be also a vertical that you can focus on. And these types of conferences, just networking with the correct people, with the right people. If you attend to these different conferences, festivals, you get to learn more about these individuals or professionals that work in the industry. And that way you can also make some connections. And hey, if you're looking for a job, maybe that person's looking for someone for their team. And it necessarily, like, yes, it's good to have music industry background for a lot of the jobs and opportunities that there are, but at the same time, it's also good to have fresh meat in the sense of that they're coming with different ideas, different perspectives, and different roles and experiences. So I think that those are my 2 cents on that.
Hello? I think that was absolutely accurate. So get out there, be unapologetic about reaching out, and just be relentless. Have no fear to knock on any door. Go on LinkedIn, search for the people that work in the industries and the companies that you respect. We're always looking for amazing people to have in the pipeline, to have, even if it's not for now, in the horizon. And I think Maria Corina really nailed it by saying internships. If you're straight out of college and you want to build a career in music, really, I wouldn't say work for free, because a lot of internships pay and pay well, but really don't think about the money so much, and think about the visibility and the experience and what it means to plant that seed within the people that you work for at that young age, and how that can reap its benefits down the line when you knock on that door asking for the job itself, having that experience. Thank you so much, everyone. It was a
Thank you.
pleasure.
Right. Let's
Thank
hear
you,
it for
Marco.
Believe.